Well, hello there. I have got a 2-for-1 deal coming up next. No, I'm not selling you anything. No, I'm not doing that. Coming up next, we've got a recipe for a rustic ragu that we're going to use for pasta as well as soup making. So what is a ragu? We're working with a meat-based sauce, and it's commonly served with pasta. Now, between northern Italy and southern Italy, there are different varieties of ragu, as well as personal preferences. So I've highlighted the details between both northern Italy and southern Italy, and you can see they are definitely different. There's a little more going into the northern Italian version than the southern, but they're both equally delicious. So it's certainly up to you. It's great to have variety. I think that's important. And to learn more about that, get yourself a cup of coffee. I've got some great reading material here. That last website address there is a clickable link to convert the website from Italian to English if you can't read the Italian language. But certainly take a look at those sites. They've got great information. So right here, you're going to want to pause this. This is exactly the list of ingredients I'm using. At the bottom, however, there's no measurements. You have decision making to do. Only you can determine how much you prefer. This is one of those decision making elements that I think is great for people, and it helps you develop a palate because it's always going to be to your own liking. But a lot of ingredients here, but a lot of it can be found locally, so you don't have to worry about going to a specialty shop. And of course, get your prep done. There's several ingredients. Now, you don't have to peel your carrots and zucchini. Give them a good wash. The skin's perfectly fine for you. It's healthy, a lot of fiber in there. And of course, do a fridge raid if you have any leftover ingredients. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to par cook the Italian sausage ahead of time. I reserve the pork fat from that, and I hit it with more salt and pepper. Just as dark as it is here, that is definitely what you want to look for. Of course, adjust it to your own liking, but I want to use the pork fat because that's going to be for the sauteing that we need for the ground beef and eventually the vegetables. Now, the ground beef, I'm using an 80-20. I do not drain the fat from this. We're putting in lots of other fluids in here, so by the time you put portions on a plate, you're not getting a lot of fat in this, so don't even worry about it. So we're working with about medium-high heat. You certainly want to work this beef in. You want to break it down, and eventually you're going to start developing this caramelized bottom of the pan. It's called the fond. You will develop these caramelized brownie bits of awesome on the bottom of the pan. It's not burnt. The only way you're going to burn it is if you're not working at the ground beef like I am here. But you certainly want to keep the ground beef moving. The fond is going to be a big flavor developer when we start adding other ingredients. So we're just making sure that this is getting good and cooked. I'm probably taking it to about 75% of the way because I don't want this to fully cook. I still have plenty of cooking time to put into this. So now we're going to start adding in our prep vegetables and garlic all into the pot. And you will need a good-sized pot for this. It's certainly not something that you're going to want to start in a small one and then realize, crap, I need a bigger pot. So just start with a big pot from the get-go. So we've added the vegetables. Mind you, we're not adding additional fat. We're not going to add any fluid just yet because we've already had salt added to this. That's going to help not just with the cooking process, but it's going to help draw moisture from those vegetables. So we're going to continue to cook this, and with the constant monitoring, we're going to make sure nothing burns. The fluid from the vegetables is going to leach outward, and that's okay. Most of it's going to cook off, but we're still going to have some of that, and that's actually going to enhance that fond, that brownie bits at the bottom of the pan so much more. And take the benefit of a nice facial while you're cooking. It smells so good. This is probably one of my favorite things to make. Anything with ground beef and a whole bunch of vegetables and garlic. So we're continuing on medium-high heat. About 5 minutes in, we're going to add the par-cooked sausages. I used hot and spicy. Love it. Use sausage that you prefer. So if you can't handle hot and spicy, just get whatever works for you. So we're going ahead. We're going to mix this in. I certainly want this to be mixed as well as possible, actually, because I don't want anything to burn at the bottom of this. And mind you, this is something that I can't emphasize enough. Don't walk away. Stay at the stove, because you certainly want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on this. And at this point, we're going to start considering the fluids. So about another 5 minutes later, I'm going to add my beef stock. I happen to have a whole stockpile in my freezer for things like this. It's a great time saver. So we've added our beef stock. I don't put seasonings in my stocks when I make them at home. I want to be able to control it as I cook. And there was already so much flavor from the pork fat, the kosher salt and black pepper. I don't want to kill this just yet. So I've just added in some finely chopped stewed tomatoes. We had some saved in the freezer from the last time we did a nice big bulk cook. We're adding this in, and it gives it a subtle sweet, which is really great. Now we're adding in the tomato sauce. This is going to give a nice full body feel to this. And I certainly don't want any of this going to waste, so I'm just taking some of that hot stock and whirling it around in the container there. Now we're building this up with multiple fluids, so this will be a good point where once we've mixed everything and it's back up to temp again, which doesn't take long, I am going to taste test this eventually because I want to make sure if I have to make any adjustments for the salt and the pepper. We're looking here for the ability to cook this down a little bit also, because this is not a typical ragu as you can see it. We're still in the making stage of this. So we're just making sure everything is getting coated. And we're going to grab a spoon and we're going to take a taste test here. I like to keep a whole bunch of spoons nearby. I'm so used to taste testing as I go, it's just normal habit for me. So I'm at the point, I've tasted this, I'm okay with the salt and pepper in here, because it's already had some more flavor infused from that Italian sausage we dumped into the pot. Look at that. All the colors are still there. Looks amazing. Oh, I was so happy when I was making this. It's a great idea for bulk cooking too, I have to say. This is a house favorite. So the next part we're going to take a look at here, this is your decision making. So step on up. We're going to work with some thyme and oregano. Me personally, I hate measuring dried spices. I hate it. I'm not going to lie. I rely a lot on my palate. I rely a lot on how much I'm visually putting in. I've put in probably a good 3 to 4 tablespoons worth of oregano, best estimate. The dried thyme, oh, let me say this, I have to just give a sidebar. Thyme brings out the most amazing garden flavor of any vegetable possible. It's such an enhancer. It's amazing. And it's cheap too. That's the best thing about this recipe. It's actually quite low on the budget. For once, they had a sale on ground beef and Italian sausage. I was very happy because I had a bad craving. And a craving involved a ragu. It is what it is. So we've gone ahead, we've added, for me, about 3 to 4 tablespoons worth for both dried spices, but that's up to you. But when it comes to basil, oh my God, $2 for a big bunch of basil. And I'm just tearing them. I'm not even putting a care in the world. I'm going ahead and putting in a lot of love here with the basil. And now there's one thing I can certainly say. I like to save the basil stems for finely dicing. Sometimes I'll put that into a vegetable stock. Awesome flavor. Now, there is something about basil you have to keep in mind. I had a flower bud here. They're really pretty. Don't use them. That is the nastiest flavor you're ever going to run into. The bitterness, I don't even know if I would call it bitter. I would call it an oral attack, because you're just sitting there with the funniest face, because it's just it's a horrible flavor. So if you see the bud, pull it. You don't want that going into any sauce or stock making that you have. It's just nasty, trust me. Save yourself the aggravation and get rid of it. So I've added a hefty amount of fresh basil in here, and we're just simply going to stir this around. Now you can see on the side of that pan, we've had a good amount of time put in to reduce this. And as a matter of fact, after taste testing, you do want to reduce your heat to a simmer. And you want to periodically stir the pot, continue to let your sauce simmer down, as well as reduce down. Now to make the soup version, take half of your ragu pot. In a medium heat, in a separate pot, add about a pint of red wine and a pint of beef stock. Or if you don't have any wine, just use beef stock. And of course, we're doing a ragu, so you need some pasta. So just grab the pasta of your choice. We loved the mini penny for this option. Cook up to directions on the package. Choose whatever pasta you like. Let's take a look at how it came out. So here we are. We've got a rustic ragu over mini penny. As you can see, that sauce has reduced down and the vegetables have maintained their beautiful color. And the soup option, beef sausage ragu soup dressed with ricotta and basil. Look at that. It is gorgeous. So let me know if you've tried this, and I hope you enjoy it. Take care.